a place down the street where good friends meet. Why don't you come along? See a face that's new, share a point of view, or maybe sing a song. Life has many stories that you hear all the time. Two of them you'll hear today, that's yours and that's mine. But there's a third story that'll always be there. Just climb to the top of the stair. Life has many stories that you hear all the time. Two of them you'll hear today, that's yours and that's mine. But there's a third story that'll always be there. Just climb to the top of the stair. Climb to the top of the stair.
Okay, Lily, have you got 9?
Uh-uh.
Oh, I'm stuck then.
So am I. All right, I win.
Lily, I thought I saw a 9 in your hand.
Well, that's the way you play, Harry. That's how you win. Then we have to decide whether you're lying or actually telling the truth.
And that's hard to do.
Does anybody want to play again?
I don't think so.
A molecule detector is a useful scientific instrument. It is used to see if certain kinds of molecules are present. Let me draw a detector for you. This one works really well when there's great tasting food around. It's your tongue. The taste buds on your tongue can detect different kinds of molecules at the same time. Molecules that make for bitterness, saltiness, sweet and sour. There's a special area in the tongue where each of these tastes is detected. For example, the taste buds that detect sweetness are located more to the front of the tongue. Maybe that's why ice cream cones were invented. You can enjoy licking ice cream more than eating it with a spoon. Well, when sugar molecules hit your tongue, something mysterious and marvelous happens in your brain, and you say, "Hey, that tastes sweet." The tongue is a pretty good detector and will usually tell you the truth about what you are tasting. But the tongue can play tricks on you. If, for example, you were to ask Susan to taste a harmless chemical called PTC, she might say, "No taste at all." But let Joe try it. "Yuck," he says, "it's bitter." He can't believe that for Susan the very same liquid tastes like water. The fact is that some people can taste the bitterness of PTC, while others cannot taste any bitterness. It just depends on the person's tongue. What has no taste to one person tastes terrible to another. You can try another experiment. Give Joe some sweet orange juice, then give him and Susan some water with a bit of sugar in it. Susan says it tastes sweet, of course. Joe says the water tastes bitter. How could water with sugar in it be bitter? Well, you can fool your tongue, even though it's a real good detector most of the time. Joe's first glass of juice was really sweet, so when he had the second glass, which wasn't as sweet, it seemed bitter in comparison. So you can see that even though the tongue does a good job most of the time, it can be fooled sometimes.
Hi, Daryl.
Oh, hi, Daryl.
Hi, Daryl.
Hey, say, where'd you get these?
Oh, you mean the decals?
Yeah.
Out of a magazine.
Huh.
What does it say?
Truth is an endangered species.
What does that mean?
Well, probably just what you guys were doing in that game before. The truth is getting harder and harder to find.
But that's only a game.
Still, it shows the thinking of a lot of people these days. Telling the truth just doesn't have much value anymore, and lying is an all right thing to do.
I know this guy. He's always telling fish stories. Last time he said he caught this fish. It was so big that when they took the picture of it, the snapshot weighed 9.5 pounds.
Oh, Nick.
You know, truth is something you have to make a decision about. Either you ignore it, or you accept it as something you're going to live by.
All right.
A long time ago in Israel, this king named Ahab called up his neighbor, King Jehoshaphat. That's right, that was his name. And he said, "Do you realize that the enemy is still occupying one of our cities? And we're sitting here doing nothing about it? Will you send your army with mine? Let's go and recapture our city." "Of course," said Jehoshaphat. "We're just like brothers anyway." "But," he added, "don't you think we should ask God first, to be sure of what he wants us to do?" Ahab thought that would be a good idea. So he called together his 400 professional prophets. "Yes, go ahead. God will help you win," they all said. They were good at telling him what he wanted to hear. But Jehoshaphat didn't trust them. "Isn't there a true prophet of God around here? I'd like to ask him too." "Well, there's one," King Ahab replied, "but I hate him, for he never prophesies anything good about me. His name is Micaiah." "Oh, let's hear it from him too. It can't hurt," said Jehoshaphat. So they called him in. Micaiah the prophet was under a lot of pressure. He knew what everyone would like him to say about his king. He started out by being sarcastic. "Why, of course. Go right ahead. You'll have a great victory." The king knew that he was being made fun of. "How many times must I tell you to speak only what the Lord tells you to?" "Okay," said the servant of God. "In a vision from God, I saw all of your people scattered upon the mountains like sheep without a shepherd, and their king was dead." "Didn't I tell you?" roared Ahab. "He never tells me anything good. It's always bad." One of the 400 professional prophets walked up to Micaiah and slapped him in the face. "When did God leave me to speak to you?" he said. "Your answer will come when you find yourself hiding for your life," Micaiah said. So King Ahab ordered Micaiah to be put in jail. "Feed him with only bread and water until I return in peace," he ordered. "If you return in peace," Micaiah replied, "it'll prove that the Lord has not spoken through me." So the two kings led their armies out, but before they did, King Ahab took off his royal robes and disguised himself in an ordinary soldier's uniform. He knew that the enemy was out especially to get him, and he wasn't taking any chances. His friend King Jehoshaphat, however, went out dressed in his usual king's clothes. During the battle, the enemy thought they saw the king they were looking for, but it was King Jehoshaphat. They let him go. The battle continued. Arrows were flying, and sure enough, it happened finally. Someone shot an arrow that hit the disguised King Ahab in a joint of his armor. He was taken off the battlefield, badly wounded. Finally, toward evening, he died. It just turned out to be just as Micaiah had said it would be. The people found themselves without a king. And that's the unhappy story of a man who couldn't face up to the truth, even when it was right there in front of him. Daryl, you've been doing a little drawing. Let's see what you've done.
Okay.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, you must have been looking at your history books a lot.
You must know it pretty good.
Yeah.
Jesus said, "Whoever hears my words and does not follow them is like the man who built his house on the sand. Along came the rain and the floods and the storm winds, and the house fell." The house was his life, and he built his life on the sand, without a foundation.
That won't work, you know.
Yes, it will.
Uh-huh. Can I push it?
No, I'm pushing it.
There she goes. Hey, Ellie, who are you writing to?
Our friend in BC. Harry, what do you call the truth besides not telling lies?
Well, that's a pretty big question. I know sometimes it's like reading a sign that you know is right and then following the directions. All the truth belongs to God. Especially in the Bible, you can get a lot of directions for living.
Like what kinds of things?
Well, like in one place it says, anyone who has control over their tongue proves that they have control over themselves in every other way. And Jesus says in one place, treat others the way you want them to treat you. There's a lot of things like that in the Bible.
Well, so if truth is really an endangered species, that just means people are simply ignoring it.
Yeah, exactly, right. Did you want to say something, Ellie?
I had it on the tip of my tongue.
Take your time. It'll come back to you.
I don't think it will. It's the postage stamp. I think I just swallowed it.
Hi, I'm Alan Neufeld, and I live in Virgil, Ontario. I am 14 years old and in grade 8. I go to Virgil Public School. Once, my French teacher called me up through another student, and I thought he was only joking, so because of that, I lost 5 marks on the test. I learned to listen to them even if they are joking, because I can't lose anything from it. I learned that taking instructions will benefit most of the time. A few times I won't want to eat anything that I don't like or that I don't know what it tastes like, but a few times when my parents make me, it turns out that I like it a lot. Once I was going to go mini biking and I stopped at our service station for some gas, and my dad told me to come home right away if it would start to get dark out because it was about to be a storm. And so after it had started getting dark for a while, then I finally left from where I was mini biking, which was a few miles from my home, and it started raining very hard and the wind was blowing against me, so I had to stop my bike and push it part of the way, and I got soaked. I couldn't get my bike started, but after a while it did, and I slowly rode it all the way home again. I learned that I should listen to my parents, even though I don't think that what they have to say is important.
You don't know about the next day. You've got some idea for a start, that's okay, but you don't know what might come your way. You've got to prepare, so why don't you pray? Lord, I need your truth and wisdom on the way. Now, until the time I'm with you to stay. Lord, I need your truth and wisdom on the way. Now, until the time I'm with you to stay. You don't know what's coming pray. Lord, I need your truth and wisdom on the way. Now and till the time I'm with you to stay. Lord, I need your truth and wisdom on the way. Now and till the time I'm with you to stay.
Are you still building stuff over there? Yeah, it takes skill.
I am the way, the truth, and the life. That's something Jesus once said. You can get to know God's truth by getting to know all about Jesus. He'd like to come into your life and guide you with his truth. And don't forget to write for your Third Story magazine. The address is The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba.